The elimination match between TLO and Zest. Let's get into it. Derelict Watcher is the map.
Over here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have, representing Team Liquid, the Red Zerg, TLO. And his opponent, representing the Kespa team, KT Rolster, the Blue Protoss, Zest.
All right. This could be the final game for one of these players in this tournament.
It very well could be.
The question is, can Zest come back and win 2 in a row? Because TLO has been looking like, he looked like a monster in game.
He absolutely did. TLO, like, I think he knew exactly how to take advantage of a passive player like Zest likes to play with his opening. Zest's so confident in the late game, in the super late game, but TLO's like, you know what, if you're going to play passive early, I'll just be, let's tech up, get my ideal composition, and then prevent you from getting to your ideal composition. Prevent you from getting the 8 gases you need to get everything, right? You can get a good Protoss, the first Protoss Death Ball. That's like the first Protoss one is Colossi Templar Gateways, right? But the secondary Protoss Death Ball, where you can replace, you can add as much air as you want, you can retech anything. You got like, a billion robos, billion stargates, and billion warp gates, and you're everywhere on the map. I'm not going to get to that point of your Protoss tech. So a really, really solid game plan by TLO, and so far another game looking fairly similar. Zest really loving Nexus first, and TLO going, a relatively fast 3 hatches against it.
Some iconic moves from game 1 from TLO involved what you were talking about there. Kind of cleaning up his opponent's army once the expensive units came out. Because as a Protoss, what's really important moving forward in any matchup, you want to keep your expensive units alive. You want to keep your Colossi alive. You want to keep your Immortals alive, your Archons, your High Templar. They're expensive for a reason. They can be very cost efficient. And if you lose them in a second, they're not being very cost efficient. And TLO did a great job kind of luring, in a sense, or baiting Zest into vulnerable locations. And also this was supplemented by a great creep spread. And TLO was able to pounce in, come in from every direction, and clean up all those expensive units. Zest, that entire game, it seemed like he was trying to just get to that death ball that he wanted. And he could just never really get there because TLO was all over the place.
He absolutely was, and so far we're seeing very similar opening from Zest. A lot of confidence in his just standard gameplay. Maybe he'll go back and reevaluate it after this tournament if he does end up being taken up by TLO, because TLO and Life have both found holes in his standard game so far. The question is, can TLO continue to find a weakness? Now, on Derelict Watcher, this is technically a better map for Zerg, but it is a map where once the Protoss has a third, the fourth isn't too hard to take. Now, of course, TLO can do that 2-pronged type of aggression. He's working on Aklon weights, with one force over here looking to come into fourth, another force over here looking to wrap up into the third base. And that could still work, but we'll see if Zest has an answer this style. In fact, TLO already actually changing his play, getting an earlier Roach Horn, but there is a pylon
he's
he's
canceled
missed.
it, actually. He scouted the Stargate and
yeah, as soon as he was worried about gateway aggression. He sees the Stargate, cancels it, he sees the exact build. But one thing to keep in mind is that this is a good map for Phoenix Zealot Warpins. And, last game Zest played his gateway units defensively, just aiming to take a third base. This game, he has a proxy pylon up. And on Derelict Watcher, what's really good is if you just send Zealot to the third base, and your Phoenixes, let's say they have a Spore Crawler in their worker lines, right? Because obviously they will. You can intercept any Roaches and Queens coming between the bases with those Phoenixes. So, actually, he is getting a Robo, so he's going to have a little bit less minerals to play with. So he'll be warping in, he won't have the instant 4 Zealot warping. So it doesn't look like he's going to go for that aggressive option. That is something that could be later used with that proxy pylon.
Phoenix is trying to be annoying. Of course, TLO knows all about this, so going to start setting up those Spore Crawlers. Going to lose one Overlord.
He's not messing around Spore Crawlers either. He's making plenty.
Yeah, that's something he did last game too. And the thing is, he made them efficient as the game went along, putting him, because against Zest, he loves his Warp Prisms, he loves his harassment.
You reallocate. Yeah. So I mean, seven spores is a lot, and in fact, he's still losing a Queen here. Yeah, there's a second pickup. But you're right. Against Zest, you can, as long as you spread the creep to your main, you can reallocate them along the edge of the main.
Of course, that's assuming you get that far in the game.
Yes. That's true in assumption. And here come the Zealot Worms I was talking about. 8 Zealots coming in now.
This is scary. Remember, he canceled his Roach Horn. He only has Lings, but I think he has an idea this is happening. 18 Lings in production.
I don't know. I mean, the
Needs a lot
Zelts
more
have
than that.
+1 weapons, so they're going to be great against speedlings. The Phoenixes can cut off reinforcements, although against only speedlings won't be too effective. I think TLO's in a world of trouble here.
What a great trick this was from Zest.
Yeah.
He was essentially selling what he was doing last game, except he changed it up. Again, he's very flexible with his builds. He can change things up in a matter of seconds if he wants. In this specific circumstance, going for a bunch of Zealots, trying to be cost efficient, taking down a Queen. A lot of Queens have died in this game so far, and now going to go down for drones. TLO doing a great job trying to cut off those reinforcements.
Yeah. That's actually really important because if all the Zealots get clumped together, the Zerglings can't really do anything against them. But if you can take them out in small groups, I mean, yes, the Zealots are still being very cost efficient, doing a lot of damage, but TLO is actually going to survive against it at least. You know, even though he did take a decent amount of damage, units lost. You can see TLO did suffer a bit there. Didn't lose too many workers, but lost a lot of speed, which of course delays his tech progression. But overall, I don't think TLO is too unhappy about the way things went. Of course, a third from Zest was delayed because of all the minerals he spent, you know, on those Zealot weapons. In fact, actually, okay, he's going to take a third. He's continuing to build probes. For a second, I was thinking if he's going to go for the 2 base.
No, we just had a lot of links made by TLO, so he's definitely going to try to focus on at least identifying the progress of the third, or even delaying it if it's possible. But there are some Zealots going to try to usher that. Oh, the probe getting surrounded! Oh, he's trying to get that probe alive. He has the VIP. The probe saying, Zealot, save me, but they're not able to, and the probe gets taken down. Nice pick off there from TLO, but did lose quite a few links.
He did. Definitely Zest tried to keep the probe alive, but it was definitely worth it, even delaying the third by 15 seconds. Makes a big difference. TLO, I think he's identified his opponent is transitioning to a macro game. So he's going ahead and doing his things. He had an Infestation Pit, continuing with the same upgrade path we saw last game, although he's getting more Hydralisk.
He might do that push that Life was doing. That Life did to beat Zest, actually.
Yeah.
It'd be a little bit later.
Yeah, it is later. He's spending a lot more on upgrades. Life, of course, he only got a single attack upgrade on the Hydralisk.
So you think these are more defensive Hydras?
Yeah, or it's not... Like, and there's no way he can do damage at this time because the Colossus is already done. There's going to be 2, like, it's just the timing window's gone for that attack.
Yep.
He may go in and poke and see if it's open. He does have Hydra speed, so he can retreat, but if he gets caught by force fields, that actually could... I mean, Hydras are expensive units. You don't want to have to lose those and rebuild them, and this is an army that it doesn't look scary, but with a Time Warp and a few force fields, 2 Colossi with range, which they're going to have range, and, you know, against off-creep Hydras is absolutely brutal. One Phoenix goes down. You does see all the Hydras coming in here, but I don't think Zest is worried at all about this attack. We'll see how he deals with it.
Yeah, I think he should be fine.
Yeah, this is a Protoss army that loves Hydras.
TLO might have to retreat here. He has his 4th base going down at the bottom, poking in as the natural, keeping his opponent honest.
Yep. You know, just scaring Zest, and Zest cuts a probe here or there to get a warped in gateway a little bit faster. Does make a difference. TLO just has to be careful because Hydras are expensive. Remember, he doesn't have a 4th base quite yet, so he can't really replace these units super easily here.
Okay, setting up a concave. It's a lot of Hydras. TLO going to come in from multiple directions, but there's 3 Colossi on the field right now for Zest.
And there's only 2 sentries, but they're at full energy pretty much, so that's still a lot of force fields going down.
See how TLO decides to approach this.
Yeah, he does not want to engage it. He just basically is, you know, feeling Zest out.
Yep.
He's saying you have to focus on your army control, because if Zest mispositions his units and allows TLO to get like a 270-degree surround, all of a sudden that army could go down. And we can see these Evo chambers aren't just for aesthetically pleasing buildings. They're there, of course, for the Vipers to use their consumability on and regenerate some additional energy. So it looks like he's going actually for a Snood-esque timing, where he was originally going for the upgraded Zerglings, maybe Ultralisk, and then he sees that Zest is already pretty far along the Dorobo route, and he's actually switching up. He's definitely going to go for at least a preliminary attack as soon as the Vipers come out. As soon as he has some roaches to tank some damage from the Colossi, he's going to do an attack that's backed by Abducts. And I think that's a reaction to seeing the Void Rays inside the composition, because Void Rays mean Templar will be very late.
That's a very good point.
And if there's no Templar,
Vipers can be really good.
Yeah, this is actually... does Zest have Blink? That's actually really important. He does.
Yeah, he does. So I think Zest is thinking that TLO is doing the same thing he did last game as far as going straight for the Ultras. He hasn't identified the Viper play just yet. Now, I might have to amend that statement because he did just put down a High Templar Archive, so he might have been able to guess since that point. But the point is, TLO, he's going to be focusing on going for the Abducts onto those Colossi, onto the Void Rays, onto the Mothership Core, letting the Hydras do their damage. And without High Templar on the field, that can be tricky. But now that the High Templar Archives is finishing, Zest can warp in some High Templar and go for feedbacks on those Vipers.
Oh, he's got to get a couple of High Templar in time. If he doesn't, it's going to be very tricky to beat this without Templar.
TLO needs to go now.
He does. He's coming in.
Now.
He's come in.
Okay, motion core can actually be abducted.
Oh, great, actually. Time warps. They're really slowing down TLO's army.
Oh, great abducts onto those Colossi Vipers with some very nice
to try to protect the Colossi, but it's a little bit too late, in fact.
Oh my god, the Hydras are doing so much damage. Another Colossus taken out. Only Stalkers here from Zest, and TLO doing this so well, hitting right before those High Templar come out, which means the Vipers are so effective. Zest getting another Colossus out on the field, so TLO is going to have to back away for now, but he's going to be super happy with that trade.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Zerg units are much more replaceable than all those Colossi. Now, Zest is still absolutely in it. If you look at the workers, TLO was really cutting workers to try to make that attack end the game. He does have the 4th base, and now he's getting workers now transitioning into Ultras. I think he realized that there were still a lot of Stalkers left. There's still Colossi being rallied out. If he kept rallying in Zerg units, he might not have broken Zest. And if he continued to rally in Roaches and Hydras, he would have been pretty much banking on breaking Zest. It was that competition where he had to basically break him. It was a trade good enough that TLO could transition out of it, but it wasn't a good enough trade to give TLO a game-winning advantage. But we can see that he's droning up, he's playing for that same late game we saw last game, making sure he's safe against the harass, and going back into the melee composition, which is a little bit stronger in the super late game, although the other option would be Swarm Host, but I think Derelict Watcher is a pretty hard map to make Swarm Host work on, given there's a lot of pass, and the middle area is so open, they can navigate around Locust pretty well.
So from here, the focus of Zest is going to be establishing a 4th base. This was something that was difficult to do in the last game. TLO is very good about denying that 4th base.
This is a very brave...
Taking down units here and there. It's like...
randomly 2 drones
and a Colossus. Like, that's the last place they want to be at this point in the game, and both are there for some crazy reason.
That was so random. So we do see TLO continuing to add in Colossal. You know, one important thing to note, a difference in this game and the last one, is the upgrades. Last game at this point, TLO was 3-3. Now, because he delayed the upgrades to try to make that timing attack work, he's not even 2-2 yet. And Zest is he's at 2-1, he's about to be 3-1. So TLO had a slight upgrade advantage in most of those engagements last game, which is typical for the way the builds went. This game is going to be roughly even upgrades, or if anything, it'll be Zest with a slight advantage. So, and that's of course because TLO is distributing his upgrades in more different directions.
Okay, Zest able to get that 4th base up. He's also getting those expensive units out. A lot of Colossi in his composition, a lot of High Templar as well. Zel's trying to counterattack here and there. TLO going for that Hydra, Ling, Ultras type composition, also upgrading Ventral Sacks.
And the Baiting Nest is coming down, so we may see those mass Baitings now. These small squads of Zerg are very vulnerable. Yeah, TLO does not want a straight-up engagement right now. His army isn't strong enough. What he wants to do is similar to last game, where he splits into 2 forces and tries to find a way where one of these forces can kill either the 4th or 3rd base. So, yeah, this force he needs to bring all the way around the top and swing it up. Now, this force, if the Protoss army goes to the 4th base, he can swing into the 3rd base with a small force enough to take on the Nexus. But it's small enough that, you know, once they go in there, they're stuck. So this force is going to die. In fact, he's setting it up.
He's just wanting to dive this Nexus.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to do that.
He's willing to lose these units as long as he can take down that 3rd base. Also attacking at the 4th base. TLO, this is planned for him. That 3rd base will go down. This is very similar to what he did in the last game. And TLO going to be happy taking that guy out. Meanwhile, guess what else is dead? The Nexus at the 4th. And now Zest down to 2 bases, and his main base is mined out. What a brilliant tactic there from TLO.
Wow, great moves by TLO there. Yes, he lost some units.
Zest might be forced to counterattack here.
Yeah, he's been trying to do some more Prism Rats, but TLO really has so much defense. He's having a hard time finding an opening. Now here in the main, there's not too much, but the question is, yeah, I think Zest is counterattacking. Sometimes, yeah.
This is scary.
You know,
this isn't the biggest of armies.
Does he have that many Immortals? He has a fully maxed army, but it's a lot of. He's only got 3 Immortals, and there's so many.
More Prism here. Oh, not the most optimal engagement here from TLO, coming in from 2 directions of the Stalkers, swinging back. Great Storms here from Zest. And TLO, this isn't the best trade for him. 3 Archons coming forward as well. Storms going down everywhere. And again, the High Templar that are running out of energy will be made into more Archons. TLO is in trouble again. He's in a great position in this game because he took out his opponent's 3rd and 4th, but he must hold off this attack. Zest is going for the win right now.
Here we go. Looks like TLO may set up a very large flank coming from multiple directions here. A lot more Ultras in the mix, but he still has so many units in production. He's engaging without his full army, but it may be enough anyway. We can see the Ultras continuing to dish out so much damage. More units swarming out here. And there's still Immortals alive. 1 Immortal fell. There's only 2 Immortals left.
Such a close fight, but Zest somehow comes out on top. Still 2 Immortals alive, 3 Colossi, and TLO going to throw down the GG. Zest is still alive and kicking, and IEM New York City, he's not going anywhere just yet, and he's able to tie up the series in this elimination match, 1-1.
Wow. What a great sense of timing by Zest. You know, TLO sacrificed a good chunk of his army to get a big economic advantage, but then he had a weaker army. And Zest moved right across the map, and maybe if TLO waited to remax, I mean, it looked like he was remaxed, his supply was maxed, but he had so many use in production every time he engaged. And it's hard because if you wait too long, Protoss comes in and just starts killing you. But, you know, what Zest did really well was knowing that he had a moment to attack. The War Prism kind of drew TLO's forces out of position a bit, and then he came in there with the main army, was able to dish out a lot of damage there. You know, a big difference in that the battles we saw in this game opposed to last game is TLO didn't have all the Banelings. Because the Banelings, you know, yes, you don't think Banelings are great against Immortals and Colossi, but against an Ultralisk speeding army, Protoss has to clump. If they don't clump, their units will be surrounded and taken out very quickly. So when he when he clumps, that's where you need the Banelings to really dish out that AoE damage. He didn't have those, and Zest's army just kind of tore him to pieces.
Great play there from Zest. TLO going for the dive on the Nexus. This is a great idea. If he defends that last attack, he kind of wins the game. But Zest able to close out TLO there in game 2. So guys, we're tied 1-1. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to find out who's going to be the first player eliminated from IEM New York City. It's going to be either TLO or Zest. Don't go anywhere.